Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. We have a great show for you today and a lot of great information. We're going to be talking about the global engagement at Oakland University. And I'd like to welcome our guest for today's show, Adem Althor. He is the Executive Director of Global Engagement at Oakland University. Welcome, Adem, to the show.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for having me on the program.
Maybe to help kind of level set everyone who's kind of watching, maybe you could talk a little bit about the history of how global engagement came about at Oakland University.
Yeah, well, Oakland University has a really rich history internationally. Some of your viewers may know that Matilda Dodge Wilson, an immigrant from Canada, whose parents came from Germany before that, founded the university. And had a deep concern for international and wanted students to have an international understanding. So this goes back to the 1960s. And I think this part of the state has a very rich history, as you know, with diverse groups. So global engagement at OU today entails a few different things. It is the International Student and Scholar Services, as we have over 700 international students who study here at OU. It entails what we call international education, which is the study abroad. So think of that as outbound international mobility. That's when students from the main campus here go abroad for a study experience, as well as the ESL Institute for English language learners, students who come here from other countries to study English. And then finally, the last part of global engagement is the international partnerships that we have with other institutions abroad. So all that kind of fits under global engagement here at OU.
And Adem, when you mentioned the global partnerships, and I think there's over 150 signed partnerships in over 50 countries, and it's just amazing and so broad of an area and interest, like you said, that Matilda Dodge Wilson started way back in the 60s. Can you talk about how did those partnerships start, and what do they kind of entail when you have a signed partnership?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the partnerships, they start in different ways. Sometimes it's from a faculty member who may have done research in a different country. Perhaps they earned their doctorate in a different country, and therefore they have a relationship with the university there. Sometimes partnerships are formed along industry lines. Obviously this is an automotive hub, so that becomes a natural reason to partner with universities in other automotive areas like Germany. So for example, we have a partnership with the University in Mannheim, Germany for mechanical engineering exchange. So there's a lot of reasons why these partnerships are beneficial. Commonly, they will support student mobility, meaning students can come here to Michigan and study at OU by way of a partnership. You might have heard of a 2+2 agreement where a student could do 2 years at their home institution, then come here, do 2 years here, come away with a bachelor's degree at both schools. So that's a common manifestation. We also send students from here to there, so outbound mobility as well. Partnerships create opportunities for faculty mobilities so that faculty can perhaps come here for a semester and teach a class or two, or vice versa. Our faculty can go and do shared research at a partner institution. So it's a way of kind of expanding the classroom beyond Rochester, beyond Oakland County, giving students access to new environments, and that kind of just makes their learning experience all the more valuable.
And if you have some students that are watching or people are interested or thinking in the future, when we say international students and international, what might that mean for someone if they're thinking international, especially if they think if they're going to a different country? What if, their only language they know is English? How does sometimes that work if somebody's looking at this and saying, well, how can I go study at another university in another country?
Yeah, so for our students here who are maybe considering going abroad for a study abroad program, this is one of the most common myths that we hear, is that I don't speak any other languages, therefore I'm not prepared to go study abroad. And it's not true. We have programs all over the world, including a program that runs every September right in Toronto, where the art department goes and brings students to attend the Toronto Film Festival. We have programs in many other countries where English is commonly spoken. And we do have programs where the purpose is to learn a language, but language learning is actually not the main reason that students study abroad. It's not the main it's not the most common benefit of study abroad, we're finding. There's a recent study that I saw that found that it's actually the problem-solving ability that students get when they go abroad. It's the intercultural competence that they acquire when they learn how to work with other cultures. That's, think of the auto industry and how international, how global that industry is. If you're going to work on the business side, you need to be able to work across cultures. So it's one great example of the skill set that would be needed. So a lot of people think language learning, but that's not necessarily the reason that you would find yourself studying abroad.
And that's wonderful to know. And like you said, that could be like a myth where you think, okay, you need to have that language or at least be able to speak something, be able to. As you speak about this and someone who might be looking at doing an international assignment or international learning, is there a type of student that you find that this works well for, that somebody who's thinking about it should say, hey, think about these kind of things if you're really serious, because to make it a real beneficial and helpful and positive experience for a student?
Well, there's so many different on-ramps for students who study abroad. Sometimes it is language learning. Sometimes we find our study abroad students have a little bit of travel experience. Maybe they went somewhere in high school and they want to build upon that experience and go to a different continent. But sometimes you'll find a student that maybe has an interest in anime and they want to go to Japan and engage with Japanese culture. And sometimes at OU, the biggest type of study abroad program we have is what we call our faculty-led programs, where students are going with OU faculty for the entire experience. Travel through the airport, the arrival, the hotel, and the faculty are then guiding them through this academic experience while abroad. So oftentimes those students sign up because they were essentially recruited by the faculty member who's leading the trip. So that's another common way that students find these programs.
And that seems a bit comforting for, someone who's going out there and is not familiar and, maybe they haven't traveled a lot. So even having someone who can help with going through the airport and so on as you navigate various countries and languages and signs and so forth. So now you mentioned one thing, Adam, about one of the myths kind of where that, you need to know the language. Do you find that there's any other myths or misunderstandings maybe when somebody thinks about this that maybe isn't true, just to help them think through these options?
Yeah, there's a couple. Number one, students often assume that study abroad programs are going to break the bank and they're going to be out of their price range. That is not necessarily true. Oakland University offers a few different types of scholarships for study abroad. Oftentimes the programs themselves have monies that are available that can make the trip more affordable. And in some cases, students are able to use their financial aid package and put that towards the study abroad trip as well. So that's one myth. Another common myth is that study abroad and going abroad is unsafe and you're better off staying home where it's safe. And that's just not true. We're never going to put a student in harm's way. Our number one priority is to make sure these trips are safe before we're recruiting students for them. And so often I talk to students when they return and they are just so glad they had the experience. Oftentimes I'll meet them at graduation and they'll reflect on their study abroad experience as the top experience that they had at the university. And that becomes kind of a springboard for them to do more by way of international, which is great. So those are just a couple that come to mind.
Yeah. And it's wonderful, especially to hear when they talk to you at graduation, like that was one of the top experiences, because now it's, another group of ambassadors that are out there to help, let other students know, hey, it's okay, and it was a great experience and, give it a try and so on. Now, it's interesting. Is there any particular degree or anything that you see that gets sought out more often to do international assignments with?
Yeah, I mean, we have programs in fields like international affairs, international business that lend themselves to going abroad. But I mean, our biology department is one of the most international departments at the university. Our students actually just over the winter recess went to Ecuador for a tropical field ecology trip with the biology department. So sometimes it just is kind of correlated to the faculty research or the international nature of the academic department. But there's so many different ways to kind of internationalize curriculum. So I see it as kind of one of my goals is to encourage a lot of our faculty across all academic departments to think international and how can they kind of add an international component to their program offerings.
Right. As we kind of mentioned that, it seems, yes, of course, international business, and international affairs, that seems international. But like you said, when you start thinking of biology, you're like, of course, that's something that transcends every, and, medical or a lot of the fields, could be the same in all various countries or, partnerships and things, which is hence what's going on with the university there is to really develop people and get that, cross experience. Do you find more students maybe from OU and from the area going out, to get degrees in that? Or do you see a lot of students coming to Oakland University?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of activity going both ways. Okay. So, something we haven't talked much about yet is the international students that come here to OU. And we've got over 700 of them from over 70 different countries. So that's a huge part of what we do here in global engagement. So I think 700 is a pretty big number for a mid-sized regional public university. And I think it's just a fantastic place for international students to study because of some of the things we've talked about, the Metro Detroit area, which is so diverse, the automotive industry, the Fortune 500 companies, the multitude of small businesses that we have in Oakland County. So it's an exciting place for international students. And I see a lot of students. I'm always talking to students here, and I can see why they like it here at OU.
Yeah. Well, that speaks volumes for Oakland University and the reputation, as you said, to have over 700 students want to come here, the Southeast Michigan area, and experience Oakland University and what Michigan and Detroit has to offer and so forth. Now, when, I think of students coming here and our students going out there, does the university help them with, visas and so forth? And the question I was going to ask as well, too, is can students work out there when they're also, there, or vice versa? Can students coming here be able to maybe have a job and pick up a little extra money in that?
Yeah, so the easier answer is for the students who come here. So for our international students, yes, absolutely, we provide immigration support for them. We issue a immigration document known as an I-20, which is their certificate of eligibility for an F1 visa. The F1 is the international student visa. And that visa enables students to work off campus through a program called Curricular Practical Training, CPT, which is work that is considered integral to their field of study. And then after they graduate, the F1 visa allows them to do optional practical training, which is called OPT for short. And that allows them to work also in their field of study, but anywhere in the country, because they're no longer a student at that point. So they can then go to Texas, New York City, San Francisco, wherever the job takes them, to get a job in their field for 1 to 3 years. Now, for students that are going abroad from the U.S., it's a bit more complicated because it would depend on the country they're going to and the rules around the visa that they're getting. It would have to be a longer experience, typically, than a short-term study abroad. But it's not impossible, and those types of international co-ops are actually becoming a bit of an emerging trend in the field now, as students are seeking more than just a study experience. They want some work experience as well.
And that's, like you said, that kind of co-op type experience is invaluable as well. One is just, the learning, but two, to actually have international experience working, international as well. So I can understand why they would want to do that. Also, I know you mentioned a little earlier the 2+2, which is also pretty fascinating, that you can get a degree from both universities then, both here locally and internationally. Can you speak a little bit more about that 2+2?
Yeah. There's 2+2s, there's 3+1s.
Oh, okay.
There's master's programs, which could be a 1+1, where they do a year at each school. These are ways that enable students to come here for less than the standard amount of time, which means less of a cost to the student. So it increases access to the degree programs, and it allows the student to take advantage of the OPT that I just mentioned, the optional practical training after graduation. So there's a lot of reasons why these are popular. And we offer these types of programs in places like India, certain parts of Europe, sub-Saharan Africa. These are actually quite a common type of partnership that we're looking into, is these types of articulation agreements.
That's amazing, because just offering so many different options. So I can see why you can have over 700 students that want to come here, or even travel, from Oakland University to other countries. You mentioned the ESL Institute. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so our ESL Institute offers English language training for students who come in at the intermediate or advanced levels. It also provides a pathway for them to matriculate into undergraduate or graduate degree programs. But we also have students that come simply because they want to take a semester or a year of English language training and then return home. So we have students from all over the world that study in that program. It's got small class sizes, which is great. You really get a nice ability to interact with the instructor. And the nice thing about it too is you're an Oakland University student while you're here, studying language, which means you can work on campus, you can participate in student organizations, you can use the fabulous rec center, and take advantage of all of the university ecosystem. So, language training is great. I highly recommend it. I myself was an Arabic language student for over 3 years in Yemen. So I have the utmost admiration for students that study language because it's a great way to learn a culture and really just have the experience of interacting with people in order to learn a language. So.
Do you see from Oakland University standpoint, students, do you see any particular language or institute in another country that is sought after?
Well, Japanese right now is popular. There's a lot of students that are studying Japanese language. Arabic language is also popular, and I think that's in part related to our location here in Southeast Michigan, where we've got a large Middle Eastern community, Chaldean, Arab American, and then of course French and Spanish are among the more popular programs that we have. So it's common for students to study one of those language and couple that with a study abroad experience where they can actually, get outside the traditional classroom and apply that knowledge. That's where your language learning really accelerates, is when you make that leap and get out where you're riding the bus and interacting with people in a variety of settings. I can say from my experience that really accelerated my language learning.
Right. And you mentioned yourself, so I have to ask, because I can see the passion in your eyes, and that's why you're probably have been chosen too, of course, from your experience and everything you've done to become executive director of it. But what attracted you in your little younger self, that as you went, you wanted to learn Arabic and you wanted to pursue this?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. And my father's family is from Yemen. I grew up with my mother, and around 20 years ago, when I was an undergrad student, I wanted to learn the language and spend a little time with my father's family in Yemen. So I started studying Arabic as a college student. And after I graduated, I spent 3 years living in Yemen. And I will say I had a lot of people warn me and tell me it's not safe, don't go there. And over 3 years, I never had an issue. And I met some of the kindest, friendliest people I've ever met while I was there. I would regularly get invited into people's homes for lunch. So I just had a wonderful experience there for 3 years. And after that, I actually went to Egypt, Cairo, Egypt, and did a master's degree at the American University in Cairo. So spent another 2.5 years there in Egypt, and that was a way of kind of continuing my Arabic studies. But by the time I was done with that travel experience, I came back to the U.S. and was really keen on getting into international education because I had had such a positive experience. And one of the great lessons I learned is that people all over the world, they want the same things. Peace and prosperity, safety and security, and students, they want a better life for their kids, and they want to come here, do a good job, return home. have a better life than their parents. So, I've just met some of the really most outstanding students over the course of the last 11 years since getting into higher ed. And I've been in Michigan since 2014. I was 10 years at Saginaw Valley State University. And then the past year and a half, I was at a private university called Northwood University in Midlands. And I just started here at OU in August. So I've got some public and private university experience, which has led me here, and just really happy to be at OU now.
Right. Well, and I think they're lucky to have you. And I think what's so wonderful too is when you talk to students, and when you've been there, you've been doing that, you've experienced it, so you can share firsthand experience. And I think what you mentioned too about when you went to Yemen, maybe those individuals also maybe got to meet someone from America, and maybe they had a certain viewpoint of that, and here they meet you, and here you meet them, and again, I think it's cross culturally, where everybody understands, like you said, everybody just wants to live in peace and live a good life and be happy and kind and so forth. So I think that helps too, as people get to experience different cultures and different countries and in life there. So
absolutely, yeah, I still keep up with a lot of the people that I met there, and one of the reasons I'm really excited about being here in Metro Detroit is the large Yemeni community, the large Arab American community. I've gotten to know a lot of the Chaldean community as well. Just such vibrant communities, great people. Everywhere I go, I'm meeting, some really tremendous people, including many of which are students here at Oakland University. So it's a great place to be, for sure.
Yes. And I definitely could see you're happy and passionate, and I'm glad that Oakland University has you kind of as the ambassador to help them with all the global engagement programs. Now, Oakland University also received kind of a new designation. I think it was working globally and with world organizations. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think you might be referring to the United Nations Academic Impact.
Yes.
So from 2025 through 2027, that's a 3-year period, we have been appointed to be the vice chair of Strategic Development Goal number 6, SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation. So there are a few universities that are in this, what they call a hub, that are kind of stewards of this very important strategic development goal that the UN has. And for your viewers, go out and Google the strategic development goals. These are some of the most, admirable, important goals that the UN and we are pursuing as humanity. Things like ending poverty, ending polio, access to healthcare, and clean water is actually one of the most urgent goals of all the strategic development goals. In fact, there's some critical benchmarks that we are not on target to make. So it's very important that we put our heads together and work on this. So Oakland is in charge of promotion of this goal. So we'll be kind of leading the efforts to promote strategic development goal number 6 among higher ed, among academia. So there should be some exciting, I think there'll be some exciting news coming out about how Oakland will be engaging in these efforts in the next year. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh, absolutely. And congratulations. That's quite a statement and quite an honor to be given that, to have Oakland University lead some of that effort. And as you said, clean water, sometimes we take things for granted. We don't realize it until maybe we have a boil water alert. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. So, and other countries just don't have that. So, well, Adem, thank you very much for your time for today. Thank you for what you're doing for Oakland University. And bringing all that experience and enthusiasm and passion with you. I thank you for being here on Bottom Line.
Thanks, Cindy. It's been great to be on the program. Appreciate it.
And I want to thank our audience for watching. I hope you found a lot of great information about Oakland University and its global engagement programs and that. And I thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. I'm Cindy Kainz.